Welcome back to the show today. We are talking about talking trash. Does it help or hurt your team? We all know the biggest mother in the league: Kevin Garnett, Gary Payton, Rasheed Wallace, Jimmy Butler. But are these guys getting into their opponents' heads effectively? Or are they causing themselves their own self-inflicted crab swirl? I think there are two effects when talking trash to the player you're matched up with. The first one is the effect you're having on your opponent. Is your opponent going to be intimidated by your words, causing him to lose his confidence and play a more conservative brand of basketball to save himself some embarrassment? Is he going to respond with anger and rage, causing him to make more careless plays and accumulate stupid fouls, or ultimately get him rejected from the game? Or he'll channel the rage into aggressive yet clean basketball. I think the most recent example of this is the Western Conference Semifinals in 2022 with Devin Booker's Suns and Luka Doncic's Mavericks. Booker and the Suns went up on the Mavericks 2-0 at the beginning of the series. The Suns were the favorites by a landslide because they finished at the top of the NBA that regular season, and Luka was really the only star in the Mavs. But the Mavs came back and tied it up 2-2. The Suns then blew out the Mavs in Game 5, and Devin Booker started getting cocky. He definitely started counting his chickens a little bit, because after a foul while Booker was driving to the hoop in Game 5, Booker did this. If you didn't catch that, Devin Booker laid on the ground and pretended to be hurt. He got up and he said that's what I call the Luka special. This is where Booker learned a very painful lesson, because Luka heard what he said. And after the blowout after Game 5, Luka was leaving the stadium and a camera caught him saying this. I think this is really awesome, because it would have been easy for the Mavs to just kind of take the L on Game 6 and say, hey, we had a good step forward this season. That is not what happened. The Mavs blew out the Suns in Game 6, but Game 7 was the true revenge game for Luka, because the Mavs went up on the Suns by 30 points in the first half. And by the end of the third quarter, the Mavs had already won. They were up by 42. After Booker said the words Luka special, he only scored 30 points for the rest of the series, while Luka scored 68. I think the best thing we got from this series was this meme. No, actually, I think the best thing we got from this series was the rivalry between Booker and Luka. It seems to reignite every time they're on the court together. I love it. Both of them are smiling, so let's be honest, I think both of them love it too. Another player that learned that trash talk is not effective across all players in the league is Reggie Miller. While Reggie was in an exhibition game against the Bulls his rookie season, he started chirping at Michael Jordan, because at the half, Reggie Miller actually had more points than Michael Jordan. Michael took note of this and he came out scoring 34 points in the second half, while Reggie only had 2. Reggie didn't learn his lesson though, because the two met again in 1993 during the regular season. Reggie tips the ball in and then he shoves Michael Jordan, which ultimately results in MJ taking a swing at Reggie. The trash talk ultimately was effective because MJ did take a swing and he was ejected from the game. But it also had a negative effect on Reggie, because he was ejected too, and he owed $6,000 to the league. And the biggest thing is the Pacers lost the game. If we were talking about effective trash talk, whether it's positive or negative, Reggie Miller is the GOAT. Michael Jordan was not the only NBA great that Reggie Miller provoked to violence. Almost 10 years after this incident, Reggie Miller was able to get Kobe Bryant to leave. This was in 2002. The game was over. The Lakers had already won, but Kobe takes a shot at the end of the game and Reggie took offense to it. Reggie squared up to Kobe and Kobe felt froggy. The two got suspended for 2 games. So far from what we've seen of Reggie, his ability to get a player all emotional has not been effective for him, and it has not been an advantage, because ultimately it's resulted in self-destruction. Sort of a kamikaze situation, if you will. But Reggie Miller was able to get John Starks to headbutt him in a playoff series during Game 3 in 1993. This resulted in Starks getting ejected, but Reggie stayed on the court to finish the game and win for the Pacers. Here's Starks' recollection of the headbutt. This is from an interview with Sam Morril in 2017.
Just came up and tapped him like that, and he dramatic Hollywood. Oh, he'd be like this and that, and I can remember Oak and Patrick just beating on me, and I didn't feel it.
Starks didn't even realize he headbutted him. Reggie even admitted that he did embellish the headbutt just to get John Starks ejected. I have to admit, I've learned to like this aspect of the game. I know, flopping is annoying, but it's going to be part of the game. Pretending a guy fouled you harder than he did is ultimately going to result in a flagrant. So not developing your acting abilities as a player is leaving free throws on the table. Now this is an interview where Reggie recalls the incident, and there's something interesting about what he says here.
John's a fierce competitor, and I give him credit for that, but so much was made of New York's mental toughness, and I wanted to test that. And I succeeded.
Reggie says nothing negative about Starks. In fact, he praises him as a fierce competitor. Reggie knows he is small, so he has to use his mouth to his advantage. I think Reggie is making a great case for himself for his ability to affect a player's play just by using his words. I think it's important when you're making the case for yourself to make a positive attribution for your adversary. Otherwise, your argument feels like it's coming from a place of resentment informed by your own ego. But I'm gonna end the Reggie Miller portion of this video by talking about a time when his verbal attacks bit him in the keister. The following year, in 1994, the Knicks and the Pacers met again in the playoffs, in the Eastern Conference Finals actually. During Game 5 in the series, the Knicks were up by 12, kinda running away with it. But Reggie Miller ripped off 5 3-pointers in the fourth quarter and had 25 points. The Pacers won the game and went up on the Knicks 3-2 in the series. After the game, Reggie Miller looked over at Spike Lee, film director and New York Knicks superfan, and he makes the choking gesture, which sort of became iconic. Knicks fans kind of turned on Spike Lee, insisting that he turned Reggie into full sicko mode by provoking him. But ultimately, it would be the Pacers who are the chokers. Spike Lee shows up in Indianapolis for Game 6. Reggie Miller misses a couple free throws that ultimately result in the Pacers losing the game. They take it back to Game 7 in MSG, and the Knicks win, knocking out the Pacers. As the crowd chants, Cheryl, 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 which is Reggie Miller's sister's name, who was at the time one of the greatest female basketball players. I don't even really know if this is an insult, other than you're calling a man by a woman's name. If anything, it feels more respectful of the Miller family and the history of basketball as a whole, which is what I would expect from New York Knicks fans. Actually, never mind. One remorseful trash talker I want to talk about is Klay Thompson. Klay is a guy I can relate to a lot because he lets his insecurities get the best of him and he lashes out.
There was this one player on the Grizzlies who tweeted strength in numbers after they beat us in the regular season, and it pissed me off so much. I can't wait to retweet that thing. Freaking bum.
Here's a video of him when he was injured. He was calling a game between the Pistons and the Golden State Warriors. I always thought that was weird that he was calling the game while he was on the team. And he rags on Rodney McGruder for getting at it with Steph.
Everything seems to be okay there. Clay's figuring out what's going on over there, Clay. Rodney McGruder. I don't know. This dude might be out the league soon. He's probably mad about that. Who knows? Wow. Shots fired. He's over here checking my guy.
This really turned me off Klay. Calling out a guy like Rodney McGruder who's just trying to be a professional basketball player. I really felt like Klay could have picked on someone his own size. I think Klay was just frustrated that he'd been injured for so long and he couldn't be out there to defend his guy. So he took his frustration out on poor Rodney. Then in October 2022, Klay Thompson remarked on an Instagram post featuring Ronnie 2K. Ronnie 2K is the guy that sets all the player rankings in NBA 2K, so I hear. I don't play the game. Klay has had some problems with his 2K rating for the past couple years because Klay commented on the Instagram post, "Y'all really interviewing this clown?" Klay cooled off a bit and he issued an apology. In the apology, Klay stated that he had his feelings hurt by his 2K rating and he took it out on Ronnie. He said that cyberbullying was never cool and he was sorry. This made me come around on Klay again because that's how you apologize as an adult. You accept full responsibility for what you've done and you don't make any excuses or accuse the other guy of doing anything. You just eat it. Klay did this again on Paul George's podcast. Paul George brings up the time that Klay flashed the 4 rings in Devin Booker's face. And Klay Thompson gives us the realest moment I've seen from any NBA player.
Yeah, I was in my feelings though. And Book was busting my ass that day. I was not where I needed to be. Stuff doesn't age well. Now that didn't age well for me. Like, I don't need to be flexing 4 rings, bro. Like, everybody know that. That's on Wikipedia. Like, my game wasn't where it was at. And we all get insecure at times.
This made me forget about the Rodney McGruder thing. It inspired me to call myself out on my overcompensation as well. So my point being, a lot of times trash talk comes from a place of fear. It's like when you encounter a bear in the woods. You're supposed to make yourself seem as big as possible to intimidate the bear. Meanwhile, you're soiling your drawers. You're just praying that that bear is stupid enough to find you scary. The last player whose trash talk I want to talk about, or lack of trash talk, is Tim Duncan. Here's a clip of Kevin Garnett on the All the Smoke podcast talking about how Tim Duncan talks trash.
Believe it or not, y'all, Tim Duncan, people would not see him verbally saying stuff because he wouldn't talk in sentences. Timmy would hit you in phrases. Got you. Almost. This the worst right here. Nice try. Like subtle shit, no gangster shit, no real hardcore shit. Just back your up and put you back in like this over here. What really pissed me off is when the trash talking wasn't affecting him. So now you spending all this energy trying to rile this up. You done forgot about your own game.
When you're at the level of Tim Duncan, you don't need to scare any bears because you're not afraid. Timmy was just making comments about the game. If anything, he was being encouraging to KG. Another important thing to point out about this clip is that Tim Duncan was not letting KG's remarks get to his head. So KG just stopped. When you're being provoked, there is no right reaction, only no reaction. Tim Duncan was such a psyop, he was able to get into the referees' heads. During a game in 2007 against the Dallas Mavericks, Joey Crawford ejected Tim Duncan for presumably laughing on the bench at him.
Like that one either. And another technical foul. And this was when Duncan's out of the game. He's thrown Duncan out of the game.
He wasn't even sure if he was laughing at him. That was Tim Duncan's only ejection for his entire career. But Timmy did get the best of Joey, because that game is renowned as one of the worst officiated games of all time. It was so bad that Joey Crawford was suspended for the rest of the season, breaking his streak of refereeing 21 postseasons. So is verbally abusing your opponent effective? Yes. But it can also have an effect on you as well. Like anything in life, it's a skill that must be developed. Alright, thank you for being here. If you're waiting for me to talk about how Kevin Garnett said that Lala Anthony's tasted like Honey Nut Cheerios, there you go. I did it. So thank you for being here. If you like the show, subscribe, eat a corn dog, be good to your mothers.